Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon so that you never miss any video lesson from RAU'S IAS Study Circle. Now we are also available on Telegram, so join our Telegram channel by clicking on the link that is available in the description below to get the latest updates from RAU'S IAS Study Circle. Hello and welcome to the Daily News Simplified, an analysis of the newspaper from UPSC perspective. Today we will discuss the Delhi edition of the newspaper dated 19th May 2021, and the articles that we will discuss today are displayed on your screen.
Now all of us understand the importance of optional subject in overall scheme of UPSC Civil Services examination. And if you're confused about which optional subject to choose, how to find the best teachers and academic support for your optional papers, and above all, how to prepare for the same during these difficult times, RAU'S IAS has best solution for your optional subject related problems. We are conducting optional orientation sessions on 22nd and 29th of May 2021, in which you can learn from the RAU'S IAS teachers about how to prepare for the optional subjects and how are we going to help you in scoring your best in the mains examination. The optional batches are starting from 4th of June 2021 via live online classes. Consider this as a call to all of those who wish to completely cover the optional subject by December 2021. This will ensure timely coverage of optional subject, and then you can focus your attention completely on prelims from January or February 2022 and keep revising the optional subject till you appear for the mains examination. RAU'S IAS is offering guidance for political science, public administration, history, sociology, geography, economics and psychology from Delhi, Jaipur and Bangalore centers. In the description of the video, there is a link which you can use to register yourself for the orientation for the respective optional subject session. We at RAU'S IAS are committed to give you the best guidance and academic support to excel in civil services examination. Join the orientation and kickstart your mains optional subject preparation from a team of best teachers in the arena. Let us now begin the discussion.
Now, this article on page number 6 is related to one of the important geopolitical dispute that is going on in the European region. And this is related to the dispute of Ukraine. Now, this dispute started back in 2014 when Russia annexed one of the important parts of Ukraine, that is Crimean Peninsula. And since 2014, the conflict has continued till date. Now, recently, what is happening is that NATO is trying to assert that Russia should stay away from the Ukrainian crisis. However, Russia has always been a very important player in the Ukrainian crisis. So, in this background, the issue here that has been discussed in the article is not necessarily very important for us from the mains examination perspective. But some of the locations that are there in this particular region can be very important for us from the prelims examination perspective. And as we all know that questions are regularly asked from the important locations that are witnessing political crisis. So accordingly, the locations related to Ukraine and the crisis are important for us from the prelims examination perspective. So first let us understand the issue of Ukraine or the Ukrainian crisis, and then let us look at some of the important locations in this particular region. So tensions are arising in the Ukrainian region because of growing violations of ceasefire and a massive Russian military buildup near the Ukrainian border. So as you can see in this map, this is the location of Ukraine. It has a border in the Black Sea, and on the eastern side it borders Russia. So it is being seen presently that a lot of military buildup is taking place along the eastern border of Ukraine. And the eastern territories in the Ukraine are said to be controlled by Russian-backed separatists. That is why this issue has again come up because of huge Russian military buildup on the eastern borders of Ukraine. And that is a cause of concern for Ukraine as well as the West, which includes the United States of America as well as the European Union. Now in this background, the Ukraine has called for help from the NATO countries. And as such, the US President Joe Biden has called Russia to not escalate the matter from here. Now, what exactly are the roots of this Ukrainian crisis? So let us look at that. So as we all know, before 1991, Ukraine was a part of Soviet Union and it became separate after the collapse of the erstwhile USSR. Now back in 2014, what happened is that a separatist conflict started in the Ukraine's eastern industrial heartland, and that is known as Donbas, or is also known as the Donetsk. As you can see in this map, this is the location of Donetsk, which lies in the eastern side of the Ukraine and shares a border with Russia. So a separatist movement started in the Donetsk region of Ukraine. Now, before this separatist movement started in the eastern part of the Ukraine, Russia had already annexed the Crimean Peninsula. Now, majority of the population of Crimea is of Russian origin, and accordingly, that population supported the Russian annexation of Crimea. So, when Russia annexed the Crimean Peninsula of Ukraine, there was widespread condemnation by the United States of America and the European Union, and this led to sanctions being imposed against Russia. And after the annexation of Crimea, this separatist movement spread out to the eastern region in the Donetsk part of the Ukraine. So, as you can see in this map, the territories of Ukraine that are affected by separatist movement include the Donetsk and Luhansk. And these two territories lie along the Russian border. And that is why it is being alleged that the separatists in this part of the Ukraine are being supported by Russia. However, Russia has denied that it has nothing to do with the separatist movement that is being witnessed in the Donetsk and the Luhansk region of Ukraine. However, the issue here is that Russia is now involved in a huge military buildup along the eastern borders of the Ukraine. And that has been a cause of concern regarding the stability in the region and the increasing assertiveness of the Russia in this particular region. And that is why all the NATO countries as well as the European Union have now talked about the de-escalation of the matter, especially in the Ukrainian eastern part. Now, post annexation of Crimea, one of the important events that happened in this particular region was the shooting down of the Malaysian plane, which was known as MH17. And it was alleged that this was shot down by a missile by Russia. And this led to the death of 298 passengers in this particular plane. So that was the highest point of this conflict where a Malaysian plane was shot down. And post that, various diplomatic efforts have been started to resolve the issue. So first in this line was that the United States and the European Union imposed sanctions on Moscow for its annexation of Crimea. And these restrictions have halted transfer of Western technology and have also blocked Russia's access to global capital markets. Now, what is important for us from the prelims examination perspective? So, the important things from the prelims examination perspective are the location of Crimean Peninsula. Then we should look at the location of Sea of Azov. Also, the location of Black Sea and the surrounding countries can be one important aspect for us from the prelims perspective. And then there is this Kerch Peninsula. So as you can see in this map, this is the location of Sea of Azov and this is the Kerch Strait. And this Kerch Strait connects the Sea of Azov with the Black Sea. So these are two important locations for us from the prelims examination perspective, the Sea of Azov, the Black Sea, and which particular strait connects both these seas. Then again, the location of Black Sea and the surrounding countries can also be one important perspective for us from the prelims examination point of view. That is, it is surrounded by Russia, Georgia, Turkey, Bulgaria, Romania. So these are the countries that surround the Black Sea region. Now, one interesting thing is that the Black Sea is connected with the Mediterranean Sea through the Bosphorus Strait that lies in Turkey and the Dardanelles Strait. So the Black Sea is connected with Sea of Marmara, which is in turn connected with the Aegean Sea, which is a part of the Mediterranean Sea, as you can see in this particular map. So this is one of the way you prepare about the locations in the international relations section. So these are a few important things related to the Ukrainian crisis which are important for us from the prelims examination perspective, especially the locations in this particular region, because questions have been regularly asked from regions that are witnessing political crisis, and the locations from these regions are important for us from the UPSC prelims perspective. With this, let's take up the next news article now. Now, this article on page number 11 is related to the issue of militarization of the Arctic region. And ahead of the Arctic Council meeting, the US Secretary of the State Antony Blinken has warned of militarization of the Arctic. If you look at the previous year question papers, you will find that in the mains examination of 2018 in the GS paper 1, a question was asked which read, why is India taking keen interest in the resources of Arctic region? So basically it was asked in the geography section in the resource geography. So in this discussion, we will look at the importance of Arctic region both economically as well as ecologically, and also what are the present challenges that are being faced by this particular region. And after that, we'll look at India's interest in this particular region, what is India's draft Arctic policy, and what is the status of India's presence in the Arctic region. Let us look at all these aspects. But before that, let us also look at how the Arctic region becomes important for us from the exam perspective. First of all, we have seen that a question was asked in the mains examination in 2018. Similarly, two questions were asked in the prelims examination back in 2015, and both were related to some of the initiatives of India in the Arctic region as well as in the Antarctica region. That is why both these are very important for us from the prelims perspective. So this end arc, sometimes seen in the news, was the name of India's underwater observatory to scientifically study the Arctic region. Again, in the context of modern scientific research, consider the following statements about Ice Cube, a particle detector located at the South Pole. So this was also related to South Pole and was related to one of the research projects named Ice Cube. So that is why both these regions are very important for us from the prelims examination perspective. So let us look at all these aspects from the prelims as well as mains examination perspective. Now, if you look at the Arctic region, you will find that it is surrounded by countries like Russia, Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Iceland, Canada, etc. Also by United States of America, by the territory of Alaska. So these are some of the countries that surround the Arctic region. Again, a potential question for us from the location point of view in the prelims examination, which all countries surround the Arctic region. So this can be one way of asking the question. Now, this particular region has been inaccessible throughout the history of mankind. However, of late, with climate change and rapid global warming, the region is now becoming more and more accessible to the surrounding countries. And as such, the Arctic is increasingly becoming an area of geopolitical, geoeconomic, and geoecological interests for various countries across the globe. In this background, let us look at what is the significance of Arctic region from the economic as well as ecological point of view, and what are some of the challenges faced by this particular region. Now, if you look at the economic potential of the Arctic region, you will find that it has a very huge continental shelf, and that is why a lot of untapped natural resources are hidden under the Arctic ice. And according to estimates, it is said that this region contains about one-fifth of the world's undiscovered oil and natural gas resources. Also, it has deposits of platinum, gold, silver, iron, zinc, copper, and deposits of methane hydrates, which are sources of tremendous energy. You will find that a question was asked in the prelims examination related to methane hydrates as well. So this is one important aspect which has been asked in the exam earlier. Further, this particular region has huge potential for commercial fishing industry. And this potential will be unveiled because of the global climate change and the melting of the ice in this particular region. Now again, with the melting of the ice, it will open up new sea routes for open water vessels. And this will reduce the distances drastically and also the travel times. Now, one of the important aspects of the melting of the ice of the Arctic region is that it provides Russia a very high leeway in this particular region because it has the most or the largest border with the Arctic region. And this also provides advantage for Russia for exploiting the natural resources of the continental shelf of Arctic region, which lies with the Russian territory. Now, if you look at the ecological importance of the Arctic region, you will find that it is important for the albedo of the Earth. And this is because the Arctic sea ice acts as a white reflector at the top of the planet, and it bounces back some of the sun rays back into the space, and this helps the Earth in maintaining its temperature. Further, Arctic region is also important for thermohaline circulation. These are underwater ocean currents. So the Arctic helps circulate the world's ocean currents, moving the cold and the warm water around the globe because of the difference in the densities in the waters of Arctic region compared to the density of the equatorial waters. Then the permafrost of the Arctic region also acts as a carbon sink. And as far as the biodiversity in this particular region is concerned, it is home to more than 21,000 known species of highly cold adapted mammals, birds, fish, invertebrates, plants, fungi, and microbe species, which are of immense value to mankind. So clearly we have seen the immense economic potential as well as the ecological role played by the Arctic region in the world ecology. After this, let us look at what are the challenges that are being faced by the Arctic region because of the melting of the ice in this particular region, because of the global climate change, and also the kind of geopolitics that is being unveiled in this particular region. Now, looking at the challenges, first and foremost challenge is of course the climate change, and according to the IPCC report, the Arctic is warming at a rate of almost twice the global average, and this will result in rising sea levels, changes in precipitation patterns, increasing severe weather events, and loss of fish stocks, birds, and marine mammals. You will be surprised to note that the melting of Arctic ice has been found to be correlated with the change in the monsoon patterns, and that is why India is concerned about this particular event that is happening in the Arctic region, and that is why India has particular interest in the scientific research in the Arctic region. Second important issue that the Arctic region faces is the militarization of the Arctic. We all know that the history teaches us that the colonialism has been because of the resource race. And as the potential of resources in the Arctic region is being seen because of melting ice, all the countries or the superpowers of the world are moving towards the militarization of the Arctic. Two of the important players include the United States of America and Russia. But of late, there has been increased presence of China also in this particular region. And this has been highlighted by China's unveiling of the Polar Silk Road project, which is a part of the Belt Road Initiative of China. Also, China is subtly creeping into the Arctic region, and which is raising suspicion about its intention in the particular region. Of late, China has been very assertive, and that is why that is one cause of concern for all the neighboring countries of the Arctic region as well as the countries across the globe. Now, coming to the focus of India in the Arctic region, we all know that India has now started refocusing on the Arctic region, and this has been highlighted in the renaming of National Center for Arctic and Ocean Research as the National Center for Polar and Ocean Research. So this highlights that India is now also incorporating the importance of Arctic region in its priorities. And what has led to this refocus of India in the Arctic region? First and foremost is the climate change, of course, which is a decisive factor in India's rethinking of priorities towards the Arctic region. Secondly, the sea ice at the Arctic has been melting rapidly, and this has been the fastest in this century, which was also highlighted by the report of IPCC. Now, due to the melting of the ice sheets in the Arctic region, we all know that it has exposed the various natural resources in this particular region. And this region is also rich in hydrocarbon reserves, and this particular region will be accessible throughout the year via alternative shipping routes, which is of particular interest to India. Further, India is also concerned about the impact of melting of sea ice on the monsoon pattern. So that again is one of the important concern, and therefore India needs more observation and stations in the Arctic countries to improve the understanding of these processes. Further, we all know that India has now embarked upon a very ambitious project of North-South Transport Corridor, which is also known as the INSTC. And we note that this INSTC passes through the Chabhar port, through the Caspian Sea, right into the Russian territory. And from there on, this route will make Arctic accessible for India. That is why this INSTC clearly shows that India is keen in improving its connectivity in the Arctic region. So, in this background, India has also recently unveiled the draft Arctic policy. And this new Arctic policy seeks to enhance the country's level of engagement with this particular region. And it is based on, or it will focus on, five major areas of engagement. First is science and research, economic and human development cooperation, transportation and connectivity, governance and international cooperation, and also national capacity building. Now, what about India's presence in the Arctic region? So you should note that India is already an observer at the Arctic Council. Further, India has set up an underground observatory called as INDARC at the Kongsjordan Fjord, halfway between Norway and the North Pole. Also, India's Arctic station by the name of Himadri is located at the Spitsbergen island of Norway, and this serves as a hub of India's scientific investigations. So, while writing answers related to India's interests in the Arctic region, we can always highlight these examples that India is an observer of the Arctic Council. India has set up the underground observatory called INDARC, and also India has set up the Himadri station. Now, this also highlights a question as to what is India's presence in the Antarctic region. Let us look at that as well. That can be important for us from the prelims examination perspective. So looking at India's presence in the Antarctic region, Dakshin Gangotri was the first Indian base that was established in 1984. However, presently it is currently being used as a supply base and a transit camp. It is not a permanent base of India in the Arctic region. Matri was the second permanent station in Antarctica, and this is active research facility. And then there is Bharti. So basically Matri, Dakshin Gangotri and Bharti are all in the Antarctica region, while Himadri is in the Arctic region. So you should be clearly able to differentiate the location of these important Indian research facilities in the Arctic as well as the Antarctic region. So in this particular discussion, we have looked at the importance of Arctic region for India and also the strategically important location of the Arctic region. With this, let's take up the next news article now. Now, this article on page number 8 is related to the issue of fugitive economic offender. And recently, the Union Finance Minister gave a statement that the fugitive economic offenders like Vijay Mallya and Nirav Modi will be brought to India and will have to face the law of Indian country. And as such, the definition of fugitive economic offender, which has been defined under the Fugitive Economic Offender Act of 2018, can be an important aspect for us from the prelims examination perspective in the topic economy. So let us look at some of the definition and the aspects of the fugitive economic offender. Now, under this Fugitive Economic Offenders Act, the definition of fugitive economic offender is as follows. So it includes a person against whom an arrest warrant has been issued for committing an offense which is listed in the FEO Act, and the value of the offense is at least rupees 100 crores. So this is the basic definition of a fugitive economic offender. Secondly, what is the criteria? Such a person may have either left India to avoid criminal prosecution, or he or she is living abroad and refuses to return to India to face a criminal prosecution. What are the offenses that are covered under the Act? So some of the offenses that are listed under the Act are counterfeiting the government stamp or currency, check dishonor, money laundering, transactions defrauding the creditors, evasion of taxes, and corruption by the civil servants, etc. So these are some of the offenses that are covered. And what is the power under this Act? So power to confiscate properties has been provided. And confiscation of properties will be undertaken which are proceeds of crime, which are proceeds of Benami properties in India or abroad, and any other property in India or abroad. And upon the confiscation, all the rights and titles of the property will vest in the central government. That is, the new act has provided the right of confiscation of the properties to the central government. So these are few aspects related to the fugitive economic offenders, which can be important for us from the prelims examination perspective. Now, this article on page number 7 is related to the TRIPS waiver for the vaccines. And this particular aspect of TRIPS waiver and the issues like compulsory licensing and also various other aspects of the drug price control order have been discussed in the DNS of 17th May as well as in the DNS of 1st May. So you can go through both these daily news simplified videos to understand the issue in larger detail. With this, we conclude today's discussion, and this is the question for the day.